morning, everybody. Is there a bridge near your house? Probably. Well, bridges come in all sizes and shapes, and it was on this date in 2004, December 14, that the tallest bridge on Earth opened. It's over 1,000 feet tall, the total structure, and it's known as the Millau Viaduct, a cable-stayed bridge in southern France. This is perhaps the oldest bridge in existence that's still being used. It's from the 13th century BCE, the Arkadiko Bridge in Greece. The Romans were great bridge builders. This is a Roman bridge in Spain from the 1st century, and Roman bridges are really all over where the empire was. And some of the Roman bridges were aqueducts. So here's the Pont du Gard in southern France. And all that work for a trough of water at the top that's probably about a foot wide. But it's a big tourist attraction. Perhaps some of you have been down there. This is the Tar Steps in England. It's a clapper bridge where rocks are put together to make a footpath. I'm not quite sure how old this one is, but probably the Middle Ages. A big step forward in bridge design came with the use of cast iron, and this is a bridge in England from 1781 called the Iron Bridge, but iron is brittle, and it wasn't until steel was used, like in this bridge, that bridges really took off. This one, the Garrabee Viaduct, was designed by Gustave Eiffel, and a few years later he did the Eiffel Tower, but he got his start as a guy working with steel in big structures like this. In New England and parts of the Midwest, you can still find covered bridges. They tend to be from the 1800s, probably inspired by wooden bridges in wooded parts of northern Europe. North of New Orleans is Lake Pontchartrain, and if you look carefully, you can see a skinny white line going across the lake. Well, that skinny white line is the Lake Pontchartrain Bridge, pictured here, built in 1956. And it's what's known as a beam bridge, the simplest kind of bridge where you basically lay a beam over whatever it is you want to cross. One of the first modern bridges is the truss bridge, a series of triangles put together to distribute the load. And this is the longest truss bridge in Japan, built in 1991. Cantilever bridges have arms that are anchored on either end and then usually another centerpiece. The longest one in the world is over the St. Lawrence River near Quebec City, built in 1917, so that's an older one too. Now, arch bridges are really old. The Greek bridge I mentioned at the beginning is an arch bridge, and the shape of the arch, where it gets thicker at the bottom, is where the load is concentrated. A suspension bridge has the deck suspended from cables, and each cable picks up part of the load, and the longest suspension bridge is in Turkey near the Gallipoli Peninsula, pictured here, just opened. A little bit different than a cable-stayed bridge, where the cables take the stress of the deck and attach it to the towers. And the longest one in the world is near Vladivostok in Russia. And here's our event. The Millau Viaduct, a cable-stayed bridge, opened on this date, December 14 in 2004. And as you can see from this map, it's to the northeast of Toulouse. It's a real rural part of France, but had a lot of traffic bottlenecks for people going back and forth between France and Spain. So they decided to build a bridge there over the Tarn River. Here's a picture of it. And they really tried to be careful with the little villages that were there, sensitive to the environment. It took about 3 years to build, and now it's open and carries traffic. And a few years ago, Dorothy and I were on it. We were in that part of France, and here's a picture we took through the windshield of our rental car. It was kind of cool, but really scary in a way because it was so windy. This is the highest bridge in North America. In Mexico, built in 2012, northwest of Mexico City, so if you're ever down there, you may want to check it out. And the highest bridge in our country, over the Arkansas River in Colorado, the Royal Gorge Bridge, built in 1929. Another reminder that humans have been building bridges for a long time.